Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight, where we get you the day's biggest news stories from across India and the world. And the top story tonight, Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a keynote address virtually at this year's high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council session on Friday. The Prime Minister spoke at the valedictory session along with the Prime Minister of Norway and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Let's listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
Today, through our domestic efforts, we are again playing a salient role in achieving Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. We are also supporting other developing countries in meeting their Sustainable Development Goals. Excellencies, India is home to 1/6 of humanity. We are mindful of our weight and responsibility. We know that if India succeeds in achieving its development objectives, it will go a long way in achievement of global goals. And so we have taken whole of society approach by engaging our states, our local governments, our civil society, communities, and our people. Our motto is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in Ladakh on Friday to carry out a comprehensive review of the security scenario in the wake of the border standoff with China. Accompanied by Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and Army Chief General M.M. Narvane, Rajnath Singh witnessed a military drill displaying combat readiness. He also addressed the Army and ITBP personnel. Here's a report on the Defence Minister's day-long Ladakh visit. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh witnessing a military drill involving a fleet of attack helicopters, tanks, infantry combat vehicles and ground commandos at a high-altitude forward base in Ladakh on Friday. In the drill, the Army and the Air Force displayed combat readiness in the region where India and China are engaged in a bitter border standoff. A large number of ground commandos, tanks, BMP infantry combat vehicles, Apache, Rudra and Mi-17 V5 helicopters took part in the drill at Stapna. Troops also carried out para-dropping and slithering exercises. Rajnath Singh also addressed personnel of the Army and ITBP in Lukur. He told them that talks are underway to resolve the standoff in eastern Ladakh. But to what extent the issue will be resolved, that cannot be guaranteed.
कुटुंबकम का संदेश सारे विश्व को किसी एक देश ने दिया है तो हमारे और आपके देश भारत ने दिया। हम अशांति नहीं चाहते, हम शांति चाहते। हमारा चरित्र रहा है कि हमने दुनिया के किसी भी देश के स्वाभिमान पर चोट पहुंचाने की कभी कोशिश नहीं की। लेकिन यह भी मैं कह देना चाहता हूं दो टूक शब्दों में, यदि कोई दुनिया की ताकत हमारे स्वाभिमान पर चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश करेगी तो उसे किसी भी सूरत पे हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे, उसका हम मुंहतोड़ जवाब देने के लिए भी तैयार रहेंगे।
Referring to the killing of soldiers in Galwan Valley, Rajnath Singh said their sacrifice will not go in vain.
भारत का एक सशक्त नेतृत्व है, श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जैसा प्रधानमंत्री हमको मिला है, फैसला लेने वाला प्रधानमंत्री, दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति का प्रधानमंत्री। हाल में जो कुछ भी हुआ है, भारत और चीन के सेना के जवानों के बीच, मैं कह सकता हूं कि आप लोगों ने केवल भारत की सीमा की सुरक्षा नहीं की है, बल्कि भारत के 130 करोड़ भारतवासियों के सम्मान की आपने सुरक्षा की।
Later, the defense minister took to Twitter to applaud the courage of our armed forces. Posting some pictures of his day-long visit to Ladakh, he wrote, "Witnessed the fire and fury of the Indian Army during the para-dropping and other military demonstrations at Stakna in Leh. I'm proud of these brave and courageous soldiers." Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. With a view to combat the post-COVID-19 situation, India and the US have expressed the desire to clinch a free trade agreement in the coming months. But before that, both countries want to conclude a limited trade agreement. The interest was expressed in an informal teleconferencing between Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and US Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. Irrespective of having fantastic bilateral understanding at strategic levels, both India and the USA lack a comprehensive trade deal. To defeat this obstacle, both countries will soon sign a limited trade deal. This will be a precursor to the proposed free trade agreement between the two largest democracies of the world.
There is a genuine desire amongst both India and the United States to seal a deal for the free trade agreement between the two countries. They had come very close on two earlier occasions, once when Prime Minister Modi went to the United States in September 2019, and the second time it seemed as though Trump may call off his India visit if the deal was not getting signed. But keeping India's largest strategic importance in mind, President Trump came to India that time, though the deal could not be signed.
An understanding to this effect was reached between Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry and Railways, and Mr. Wilbur Ross, US Secretary of Commerce, on 16th July 2020, a day after the India-US CEO Forum. The limited trade deal will also show the experience of having trade between the two countries in a proper format to showcase convergence in the strategic arena. According to the Ministry of Commerce, substantial progress has been made by both sides on most of the outstanding issues as far as bilateral trade was concerned.
Both India and USA did not join Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement that could have been led by China. That shows the convergence of trade ideas between India and USA. And if it can be done before November election, it will be somehow a winning situation for USA and also for India, because both may further go ahead on trade front. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi.
To follow up on the trade talks between the two commerce ministers, a meeting of labour ministers and social sectors ministers of the two countries will also be organized respectively. This will address reservations of US government industries about child labour and Indian concerns about social welfare issues that will be culminated in Social Security Totalization Agreement. A meeting of fisheries will also be organized to address American concern about lives of turtles during fishing in India. Both countries will also want to address issues of intellectual property rights, service industries, migration of workforce and preference in trade, that is GSP, and other related issues. Trade between both the countries is to the tune of $88 billion in 2018-19 and it is in favor of India. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV. The Ministry of External Affairs has said Iran is yet to nominate an authorized entity to finalize outstanding technical and financial issues related to the Chabahar-Zaidan railway project. Responding to media reports on the project, MEA spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said, since 2016, despite various difficulties, significant progress has been made on the Chabahar port project. More details in this report. The External Affairs Ministry on Thursday called media reports about the Chabahar-Zaidan railway project speculative. MEA spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said, the centre appointed Indian Railways Construction Limited, IRCON, to assess project feasibility and it is working on the project with Iranian company CDTIC. He said so far IRCON has completed site inspection and feasibility report review. Other aspects including financial challenges facing Iran were reviewed in December 2019 at the 19th India-Iran Joint Commission meeting in Tehran. Iran, however, is yet to nominate an authorized entity to finalize outstanding technical and financial issues.
There has been significant progress on the port project. An Indian company has been operating the project since 2018 and has steadily scaled up the traffic at the port. Since December 2018, 82 vessels have been handled there, including 52 in the last 12 months alone. The port has handled 12 lakh tons of bulk cargo and 8,200 containers. Proactive measures are currently underway to increase the usage of Chabahar port both for Afghanistan and Central Asia.
On the Chabahar port, the MEA spokesperson said a 2003 commitment was operationalized in 2016 during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Iran. Since then, despite difficulties posed by sanctions against Iran, there was significant progress on the project. An Indian company is operating the port since 2018. Since then, 82 vessels have been handled, 52 in the last 12 months alone, along with 12 lakh tons of bulk cargo and 8,200 containers. Measures are also underway to increase the use of port by Afghanistan and Central Asia. On the reports about the Farzad B gas field negotiations, in which ONGC was involved in the discovery stage, the MEA said follow-up bilateral cooperation was impacted by policy changes by Iran. He said in January 2020, Iran said it will involve India appropriately at a later stage. The matter is currently under discussion. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And talking about the COVID-19 situation in the country, coronavirus infections crossed 10 lakh in India on Friday. It made India the third country after the US and Brazil to cross this figure. A record surge of 34,956 new coronavirus cases and 687 deaths were recorded in the last 24 hours. India has now seen 10,03,000 cases, while deaths have gone up to 25,602. It's the sixth day in a row that cases went up by over 28,000. Also, 22,942 people recovered in the past 24 hours, the highest in a single day. Total recoveries have gone past 6.3 lakh, giving a recovery rate of 63.34%. India now has 3,40,000 active COVID-19 cases. According to the ICMR, over 1 crore 30 lakh samples have been tested so far, 3,33,000 on Thursday. The government is focusing on a strategy of test, track and treat with 1,234 laboratories, including 874 government labs and 360 private ones. But while COVID-19 cases in India reached 1 lakh in 110 days, they went past 9 lakh in just 59 days. In 3 more days, they crossed 10 lakh cases. Currently, India ranks third in global infections. The United States has seen over 3.6 million cases, while Brazil is close to 2 million. India has 727.4 cases per million. Seen globally, cases per million in India are 4 to 8 times less than many European countries. Mortality rate in India is also much lower than the world average. Globally, the mortality rate is about 4.3%, while in India it is just 2.55%. But despite increased testing, positivity rate in India needs to be contained. Test positivity rate is the ratio of positive cases to the number of tests. In India, TPR is much above the 5% benchmark. At the beginning of May, it was 4.14%, meaning out of 10,000 individuals tested, 414 were positive. In June, it was 7.38% and surged to 10.9% on the 16th of July. Medical infrastructure to treat COVID-19 patients includes 1,383 dedicated hospitals, 3,107 health centers and 10,383 care centers. Meanwhile, 3 volunteers were given Covaxin, the corona vaccine of Bharat Biotech in Rohtak on Friday, as part of the first phase of clinical trials. All 3 tolerated it without initial adverse effects. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And many states reported their highest single-day increases in novel coronavirus cases on Thursday. Maharashtra continues to have the highest number of cases. Here's a report on the state-wise COVID numbers. Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal recorded their highest single-day numbers on Thursday. Maharashtra's total caseload crossed 2,84,000 with 11,194 deaths. 8,641 new cases were reported on Thursday. 1,476 of them were in Mumbai. Maharashtra had 266 COVID-related deaths on Thursday. 56 were in Mumbai. The state has a death rate of 3.94% and a positivity rate of 19.65%. Tamil Nadu has 1,56,000 cases and 2,236 deaths so far. Hotspot Chennai showed improvement, while Madurai and 3 districts adjoining Chennai saw a spike in cases. In 3 weeks, Madurai had a 7-fold increase in the number of COVID-19 cases. Karnataka had its highest 4,169 coronavirus cases in a day on Thursday. The state has seen 51,422 cases and 1,032 deaths. Among metros, daily cases are falling consistently in Delhi and Chennai, but not in Mumbai. Bengaluru is the new hotspot. Since Unlock 1.0 started, cases in the city have gone from 600 to over 25,000. Among other cities, Pune is adding over 2,000 cases every day, Hyderabad over 750, and Kolkata more than 400 cases. Hyderabad has over 29,000 total infections. Odisha on Thursday announced a 14-day complete lockdown in Ganjam, Khodda, Cuttack and Jajpur. New cases crossed 16,000 as 718 more people tested positive for COVID-19. The state's death toll as of now is 83. Goa announced Janata curfew between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. till the 10th of August and a complete lockdown from Friday to Sunday this week. There are 1,676 new cases in Telangana. The state now has a total of 40,000 cases, a test positivity rate of 18.85% and a death toll of 396. The 3-week total lockdown in Guwahati is ending on the 19th of July. Assam Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said a likely unlock phase from Monday could be staggered. The state has 19,754 cases of COVID-19, including 48 deaths. Uttar Pradesh saw a surge with 1,733 new cases on Friday. The state has 16,445 active cases with 27,634 recoveries. Its COVID-19 death toll is 1,084. The Madhya Pradesh Assembly postponed its monsoon session that was slated to begin from the 20th of July. The state has over 20,378 cases. Bihar entered a 16-day lockdown from Thursday, but cases continue to increase. On Thursday, the state saw 1,385 new cases. Of them, Patna alone had 378 cases. The state has recorded 21,558 cases. 7,289 of them are active. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And the number of COVID-19 cases globally are approaching 14 million. The pandemic has claimed 5,80,000 lives so far.
With over 3.7 million cases, 1,41,143 deaths and rising infections in almost all states, United States is the worst affected. On Thursday, Colorado Governor Jared Polis made face coverings mandatory in public, joining 38 other states. Arizona is free testing high-need communities, while in Texas, authorities are giving away face masks, hand sanitizers and food to people suffering from economic crises. Latin America had over 3.6 million COVID-19 cases till Thursday. Over 2 million cases are in Brazil. President Jair Bolsonaro called the economic impact worse than the pandemic itself. On Thursday, he told local governments to lift lockdowns. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson eased restrictions, allowing beauty salons, indoor gyms, pools and other sports facilities to open from 25th of July. Johnson also announced an additional $3.7 billion for the National Health Service. Japan had 623 new cases, including 286 from Tokyo on Friday. Its case load is over 24,000 with 998 deaths. Australia's New South Wales on Friday banned dancing and large gatherings following a surge in new cases. New South Wales reported 8 new COVID-19 cases, while Victoria had 428. Australia now has 11,000 cases and 116 deaths. On Friday, South Korea approved early-stage human trials of Celltrion's COVID-19 antibody drug. China's Sinopharm started third-phase clinical trials of its COVID-19 vaccine in Abu Dhabi on 15,000 volunteers. The trial will test 2 vaccine strains. 2 doses, 3 weeks apart, will be administered and volunteers will be followed for a year.
India has established bilateral air bubbles with the United States of America and France. Air bubbles are explained as air bridges between countries that have trust in each other's efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri on Thursday said India established individual bilateral air bubbles with France and the US to allow airlines of either country to operate flights. He added that air bubbles will be the way forward in resuming international travel amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have signed formally, let me tell you, Air France will be operating 28 flights on the Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore sector and France, I think Paris, between 18th July to 1st August. We have an agreement for United to operate 18 flights between India and the US between 17 and 31st. But this is an interim one. It is an interim one. We have a request from the Germans also. I think Lufthansa is almost done. But as I said, we have agreement. Some details have to be worked out.
The Union Minister said Air France will operate 28 flights from 18 July to 1st August between Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru and Paris, while United Airlines will operate 18 flights between India and the US between 17 to 31st of July. From India, Air India will operate flights to France and the US under these bubbles. Puri said similar arrangements with Germany and the UK will soon be permitted. International commercial flights have been suspended in India since 23rd March due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In some other news, newly elected Rajya Sabha members will be administered oath or affirmation on the 22nd of July. For the first time, this will be done in the chamber of the House during intersession.
Subscribing to oath or affirmation by Rajya Sabha members is usually done when the House is in session. When the House is not in session, it is done in the Rajya Sabha chairman's chamber. But this time it will be done intersession in the Rajya Sabha chamber. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu decided this in view of the fact that quite a few of the 61 new members wish to participate in meetings of the department-related parliamentary standing committees that resumed earlier this week. Due to the need for social distancing, only one family member or guest can accompany each member for the oath-taking. They will be accommodated in the Rajya Sabha galleries. Some newly elected or re-elected members of the Rajya Sabha like Dr. K. Keshava Rao and Tiruchi Siva are the chairmen of parliamentary committees. Without taking the oath or affirmation, they can't convene their committee meetings. Even newly elected members can't take part in the meetings without oath or affirmation. With social distancing norms, the Rajya Sabha gallery can accommodate 67 members. The Rajya Sabha Secretary General informed all newly elected members about the oath-taking on the 22nd of this month. Those who cannot attend will be administered oath or affirmation during the ensuing monsoon session. The oath-taking by new members was planned for an earlier date but had to be deferred after some members expressed concerns over travelling to Delhi due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Amid international criticism of China over its handling of the coronavirus crisis, another issue involving the country has been revived in recent weeks as an arena for serious tensions. The United States has for the first time called China's territorial claims in the South China Sea unlawful. Here's a detailed report.
The disputed territory in South China Sea looks set to become the new flashpoint for the increasingly hostile US-China relations. After hitting out at China over several issues ranging from the origins of coronavirus to Hong Kong's security laws, the US has now waded into South China Sea waters. calling China's pursuit of offshore resources in parts of sea as completely unlawful. In a rare move, the US Navy sent 2 aircraft carriers to conduct operations and exercises in the region on 4th of July, America's Independence Day. Beijing was already carrying out military exercises in the South China Sea from 1st to 5th of July. The stand marks a stark shift in US policy, as it had so far not taken any sides in the disputed region.
We will then go use the tools that we have available, and we will support countries all across the world who recognize that China has violated their legal territorial claims as well, or maritime claims as well. And we'll go provide them the assistance we can, whether that's in multilateral bodies, or whether that's in ASEAN, whether that's through legal responses. We'll use all the tools we can.
The South China Sea, which is home to vital shipping lanes, has been a flashpoint for years, with several countries claiming ownership of its small islands and reefs, and with it access to its resources. In recent years, China has been increasingly assertive over its claims in the contested region, claiming an area known as the 9-dash line. It has been building artificial islands and rapidly building up its military presence to back up those claims. Others with claims in the South China Sea, including Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan and Brunei, have rejected China's assertions. In 2016, an international tribunal in The Hague ruled that China's claim to sovereignty along the 9-dash line had no legal basis in international law. However, Beijing rejected that ruling and has put up stiff resistance to the US challenge, saying it was not afraid of sanctions and accused Washington of destabilizing the region. After its recent face-off with China in eastern Ladakh, India says South China Sea is part of global commons. New Delhi has said that any differences be resolved peacefully by respecting the legal and diplomatic processes and without resorting to threat or use of force.
South China Sea is a part of global commons, and India has an abiding interest in peace and stability in the region. We firmly stand for the freedom of navigation and overflight and unimpeded lawful commerce in these international waterways in accordance with international law, notably UNCLOS.
Beijing views the South China Sea as a crucial part of its maritime territory. The sea is home to important shipping lanes, and there are immensely valuable oil and fisheries resources in the region. China's claims on the South China Sea region have generally gone unchecked for the past decade, but its increasingly aggressive activities and posture on land reclamation projects have prompted the rest of the world to reassess Beijing's international ambitions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
India has lodged a formal protest with Pakistan after Islamabad refused unimpeded consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. A meeting of Indian officials with the Jadhav ended inconclusively on Thursday. It came ahead of the 20th of July deadline Pakistan set for filing a review petition. However, India says neither the environment nor the arrangements of the meeting were in accordance with the assurances given by Pakistan. The Ministry of External Affairs stated that it was evident that the conversation with Jadhav was being recorded and that Jadhav himself was visibly under stress, and indicated that clearly to the consular officers. The consular officers were not given unimpeded, unhindered and unconditional access to Jadhav. On the contrary, Pakistani officials with an intimidating demeanor were present in close proximity of Jadhav and consular officers despite the protests of the Indian side. The consular officers could not engage Mr. Jadhav on his legal rights and were prevented from obtaining his written consent for arranging his legal representation. A few days ago, Islamabad falsely claimed that Jadhav had refused a review of his case and wants to appeal for mercy against his death sentence by the military court. In July last year, the Hague-based ICJ said that Pakistan must undertake an effective review and reconsideration of the conviction and sentence of Jadhav and grant consular access to India without further delay. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you very much for your time. Take good care of yourselves and your families.
Thank you.